de babão.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
And welcome back
to the King's Court. No Sean Connery. What a great skit. Celebrity Jeopardy picking us up on a Monday. What's up, y'all? We are just a couple of hours away from Kings basketball. We're going to lead you right into the Kings and the Nets. The Nets going to have a decent amount of guys out tonight. This should be one where the Kings bounce back, stop this little slide, get back on the same page, and continue on their track of this East Coast road trip. This will be game number 4 of the trip, looking to have this team return home 500. That is so important. You want to stay above that 500 number. We'll talk about the Knicks game. Doug Christie summarized it best. We hit it a little bit on the post-game show that the Knicks beat the Kings at their own game. They did. We'll go to the whiteboard. We'll look at some of the examples of that. The Super Bowl is set. The Super Bowl is set. How you feeling about that? Championship weekend over with. Got a full happy belly. Hit Bennett's for brunch over the weekend with the family. Amazing. As always, Jimmy Butler suspended indefinitely. No surprise there. So whether I'm ruffling your feathers, whether you love the show, let's have a great show. It's about debate. You think I'm wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. Let's just have fun and do it the right way. It's a Monday leading into the Kings and the Nets right here on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan, break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the time Williams, the D-line. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like.
You play to win the game.
Yes, you play to win the game. The Kings looking to play to win tonight in Brooklyn. Not a far travel, although probably a little bit of an annoying bus ride over the Brooklyn Bridge. But nonetheless, the Kings stayed in Manhattan on Saturday night. They are in Brooklyn now, getting ready to tip off here in about 2.5 hours. Roughly, court is in session. What's up, y'all? How was your weekend? Ryan in Sacktown with you, brought to you by Bennett's, of course. Amazing brunch yesterday. It was hilarious because we walked in about, give or take 1:15-ish. And you could tell we got there right after the rush. We always talk about their weekend brunch and how it's incredible. It's our family's favorite. But they've got a really good special. You get 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne for under $50. It's like $47-48. So as we walk into the restaurant, there are just bottles of champagne everywhere. It looks like bottle service. Threw up. I mean, just bottles and coolers. So you can tell people are having a good time. You should go try Bennett's weekend brunch. It is incredible. 3 locations, Sacramento, Fair Oaks, whatever you want to call it. Howe and Fair Oaks, Roseville and Rockland. We'll talk some more about them on the other side. But welcome in, welcome in. We're talking about the Kings. Flat first quarters, man. It's been the story of their games as of late, giving up really big quarters. In the case of last game, they gave up 3 of them. For all intents and purposes, that first quarter should have been another 40-point quarter. It wasn't. It was 38. All good there. Like to keep it under 40. But then they go 34 that they give up in the second, 39 in the third. Really tough to come back against that with a team like the Knicks, a top tier Eastern Conference team. And it was the guys that you wouldn't expect that beat you. Josh Hart damn near out rebounded the Kings offensively. Through 4 quarters, the Kings had 7. Josh Hart had 7. So we'll get to Doug Christie here in a little bit. He talked about it. I think he said it perfectly. We kind of hit it on the post-game show as well. The Knicks were a very good example of how the Kings want to play across the board, the effort wise, the physicality wise, and a lot of complaints definitely throughout our shows. I've seen it on the X, I've seen it on other platforms about the whistle in New York. There were some bad calls, I'll give you that, but it's really tough for the officials to officiate a Knicks game because that level of physicality is always at 100. From minute 1 to minute 48, it's at 100. So it almost sets a standard. And I know that's what Doug Christie wants these guys to do. And we've seen it in flashes. They've still got plenty of time to keep working that way. It's just the other night, New York was not exactly one of them. Nonetheless, they still did some good things. De'Aaron Fox still struggling from the floor. Doug Christie talked about that after the game. He was asked if maybe Foxy should sit out a game or 2, get a little bit of rest for those hands. We'll let Doug talk about that. But you do have to give Fox respect for buckling it up and getting on the court and trying to do what he can and fit in where he can when you don't have your best attribute, which is really your ball handling and your speed. It's tougher. We've seen him dribbling the ball off his foot at times. And, it's a difficult situation. In fact, through the last 4 games, he's shooting 31 of 83. 31 of 83. Last game, 6 of 20 from the floor. So hopefully Foxy can get it going tonight. That's what we're looking for here in Sacktown. And we're looking for a beam. I'm starting to have some beam withdrawals. What about all you? So Rock, what's up, man? Kicking us off. Would love to be able to come here after the game and brag about how great Fox was. Hopefully tonight is the night. Yeah, remember, Jordy Fernandez, coach of the Brooklyn Nets, a name you should recognize. He was with the Kings for the last couple years prior to this year. The one time the Kings and the Nets met this year, they got the better of the Kings. Jordy flat out coached Mike Brown. You can't really argue that point. In fact, that's a ruling. Jordy out-coached Mike Brown. I'm guessing Doug's going to have something to say about that tonight, but you know for sure that the Nets, they're going to be up for this one, or at least Jordy will have those guys up for this one. John made it to court on time. Where's my $10, Tristan? Now, John, you're demanding money for being on time? What is going on?
Hello?
What are we doing? Johnny, you guys handle it. I'm not getting into all this. What's up, Flores? How you doing, man? How was everybody's weekend? What'd you do? Anybody do anything interesting over the weekend? Anybody else hit Bennett? Let me know. Let me know where you're watching from, too. Don't forget our movies. We're still putting those brackets together. If you want to get your suggestions in, get them in anytime. This show, Rhino, how are you, good sir? How was your weekend? It was really good, BG. It was really good for the most part. We went to Paris on Friday. Not actually like Paris. We went to this place called Paris Bon Mi here in Elk Grove. It's a really interesting kind of joint because it's Vietnamese food, but they've also got a French bakery. You have a head chef that is Vietnamese, but he's classically trained in French. So a little bit of a fusion there. That was nice. The boys got together. But look, I felt so bad on Friday night. So we have this thing called Friendship Fridays during the school year. That's when my son and his group of friends, and usually during the spring, the summer, these things are at parks. We're going to parks. The boys run around, splash pads, they can get wet, whatever it may be. But during the winter, you can't do it. It's too cold. It might be raining. So we end up at restaurants every other week. And in this case, we ended up at Paris. And it wasn't that busy of a night for them. So in a way, we kind of had half of the joint to ourselves. And then as it got closer to closing time, because we are very cognizant of this, we are not the people that will show up 5 minutes before you close. Like, to me, I get it. Like, if you're in a rush or it's the last thing you can grab, like, and you got to show up 5 minutes before they close, cool. But like, eat your food and get out. Don't sit there and camp out for another 2 or 3 hours. You know what I'm talking about if you've been in the service industry. But as they got closer to closing time, our little guys decided that because the restaurant was a little more empty, they were going to turn it into a playground. And we're like, hey, boys, check it. Like, you guys need to chill. Check it. And then this couple walks in, and this couple is trying to eat. The boys are running around. They're yelling. They've got phones out doing Pokemon Go. Like, they're going right up almost to this couple because there's a freaking Pokemon by the people's feet, a digital one that they have no idea is there. And we're like, dudes, you need to chill. And so finally, we kind of got the look from one of the managers. We're like, yo, boys, sit it right here. I don't care if there's a Pokemon on top of your head, not another zip or running around. So Friday was good, but I felt bad because we're usually not those people. So, good tip and all. We made sure they were taken care of. Saturday, chill. Sunday, Bennett's. Doesn't get much better than that. How about you? Cam Johnson is out tonight. We're going to get to that here in a few minutes. 38 is 40 in my mind. All right, fair enough, Justin. See, I'm kind of that way too. I round up. That's why I'm like, 38, it's basically 40. Yeah, I'm with you. So does that make the third quarter of 39 also 40? Probably. Finchy needs some beam. John's so funny. John's one of those few people that has my cell phone number. And if it's a good night for the Kings, I'll get a text message like, hey, can you see the beam? No, John, I can't see the beam, man. You know this. Just because the weather's a little bit clear does not mean I can see the beam. And then I get a picture from John, like the beam and looking beautiful. And I'm like, damn it, I want to see the beam. So what's up, John? You'll get to see the beamer. I think you'll get to see the beam today. Ugh. Yes. Fox has to play good for this team to win. He can't be a liability. He was not a liability this weekend. I went back and watched the game. Now, shooting wise, look, he's not shooting the ball well. What do you want to say? How do you get out of that? You shoot your way through it. That's what he's going to have to do. You got to get better looks. In certain circles, in most NBA circles, you'd say get to the rim, get to the free throw line, do the little things. But with his hand, that makes it hard. Like, I'm looking at his line. And again, I'm not trying to hyper focus on De'Aaron. There is a group of fans that is ready to jump me because of some of the talk on this channel, which is fine. I'm sorry. It's how I feel. It's nothing personal. But, he only had one rebound against New York. Only one rebound. I know he's not a big rebounder, but I'm going to let that slide because it was a team thing. And we're going to talk about why it was a team thing. I'm actually going to show you in the pictures. The Kings did not, those non-negotiables, the effort, the 50-50 balls, that kind of stuff that Doug Christie wants, the standard, however you want to define it, it wasn't there against the Knicks. And yet the Kings make a hell of a run in the second quarter, make it interesting. And I thought that delay with the hoop was really going to help the Kings out. It didn't. So it is what it is. The Knicks are a good team. They were rested. It was Saturday night in the Garden. It just was not meant to be. But some of the things that you saw on the film when I rewatched it, they're things that I don't care if you're playing the Knicks or if you are playing the Brooklyn Nets at Rucker Park. It doesn't matter where, when, and who. Some of the things on the film, team-wide from the Kings, especially defensively, unacceptable. You can't do it, and you'll get it when you hear what Doug said too. We'll tie the pieces together here in a little bit. New name. What's up, Telly? Telly, one of my buddies. growing up. He had a sister, and her nickname was Telly. That's funny. What the hell is up with the missed buckets? Like layups. Baffled. Yeah. Yeah. Look, the layups are so hit and miss sometimes for this reason. Depending on the player, they're anticipating contact. And even more dependent on the player, they might be trying to draw a foul. Grant and I talked about this a couple of shows ago for the post game. And sometimes, like when you're trying to draw a foul or you're anticipating contact, then your first like focus, what you're going to do, making the basket, isn't at the forefront of your mind. It's like a given that you're going to make it, but you're trying to do other things. And the next thing you know, you're blowing the layup. And yes, they have missed a lot of chippies lately. Malik missed a few. Domas missed a few last game. It's a great point, Telly. Foxy has missed some. Devin Carter, I believe, has missed a couple. BG, what's up? Sadly, Kings play to the level of their opponent, so I wouldn't be shocked if they came out with nothing to lose. Look, I'm giving this Doug Christie iteration of the Kings a clean slate when it comes to playing to the level of their opponents. And under Doug Christie, that's not happened. They handled their business against the Wizards, a game that last year probably would have been closer than it was. Now, could we pick that game apart? Yes, we could. But the bottom line is they still won by over 20 points in that one. So until I see more evidence or direct evidence that they are doing that still, I'm going to give them a pass there. In fact, let's go to Doug Christie and let's talk about this one really quick. Kings, Knicks, and we're going to get into the Brooklyn game too. Get you ready for that. Let you know who's in, who's out on that. You guys have already started circulating some of that information in the chat. But let's get to the recap of this one because it was kind of a funky game. At times, it felt like the Kings never really were in it. And then at other times, it felt like here comes the run. You saw a spurt of about 4.5 minutes of Kings basketball in that 48 minutes in New York City on Madison Square, in Madison Square Garden. That was that run at the end of the second quarter. After that run, it just wasn't really Kings hoop. So here's Doug Christie. Corn Dog, I'll get you the link back in the chat. Doug Christie right after the game.
3 30-point quarters. It's hard to definitely overcome. I looked at the stat sheet and 17 threes. It felt like 25 threes. I think because a lot of them were super timely. A lot of areas that we normally thrive in, and kind of my message to them was kind of they beat us at our own game. Points in the paint, second chance points, fast break points. But we will lick our wounds and be ready to play in Brooklyn for sure, for sure.
What did you guys do second that got you back in that didn't necessarily carry over the rest of the game?
We played a bit of zone. They missed some shots. But, you know, part of it is you got to make sure that your offensive that you clear the board. And 17 offensive rebounds is just too many. You got 7 from Josh Hart. Like, these are things that we gotta, and I talked to them in the huddle, is like a lot of this is little things. Like, you get a stop, you don't offensive rebound, you turn the ball over, they go down and hit a 3. Like, all those little things at the end of the night start to add up. And when we did that in the second quarter, it was solid. We came back in the third and fourth, and like I said, timely threes. Just give them credit. I mean, they made shots, and they're a heck of a ball club. And Tibbs is a hell of a coach. But we'll see him again.
Obviously, you're not going to encourage your star player to sit, but what's the balance you try to find between Fox and looking at the shooting performance, knowing he's dealing with a couple of hand injuries, and trying to decide, like, do we give him a night here or there, or do you just
I think more than anything, like, what we're learning about Fox is the leadership aspect of the responsibility of being one of the faces of a franchise. And when you look at him being dinged up here and there, and he's buckling up and he's getting at it. That's what leadership is all about. Is that he can affect the game in a lot of different ways. He affects it defensively. He can rebound the basketball. He pushes the ball. It's going to click. Not really worried about that. But I know from being in that position, it's hard. But at the same time, there's a big responsibility, and he is not ducking it. And I respect the hell out of that.
The little things certainly added up for this team, and we're going to go through that on the whiteboard right from the get-go. One of the things we talked about on the pregame show was the pick and rolls. The Kings did not handle them well whatsoever. Communication, poor. Rebounding, poor. The Knicks are just too good of a team to give extra opportunities to. There's a new link that is in the chat, also a new QR code. So if you are trying to call the show, use that one now instead. Let's bring in, he's back from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Dog. What's up, dude?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm a little sick though, so not the best of time, but I figured I should call the show anyways because I missed it.
Yeah, dude, we missed you too. Well, what are you dealing with? Just like a little bit of flu or?
Yeah, some sort of cold or something.
All right.
Yeah, but I've liked what I've seen from the Kings for the most part under Christie. Definitely a different vibe than with Brown. Obviously, the win streak speaks for itself. It got us back into the playoff race. And yeah, I mean, the buddy that I knew from Denver is giving me crap about that game, but there's nothing. We had no answer for Jokic, like none at all.
See, you know what? Usually the Kings do, though. Usually, and Sabonis had a triple-double that game, too. It's just they were in the mud. In fact, I meant to say this at the Open. I'm glad you brought that up. Whether you believe it or not, when you go back and look at, because I've watched both games back, the Denver tape and you look at the Knicks tape, the Kings' effort was way better in Denver. Even after the long travel, the second night of a back-to-back, it was much better than it was in New York.
Yeah, I'll agree to that, like 100%. You know, they kind of just let it slip away from them in New York, and just that they were letting the Knicks kind of get what they want. I mean, 140 points is, really shouldn't even happen. Even in a modern NBA with a lot of possessions, like that's still a lot of points. That's like all-star levels almost. I know the Kings had that game a few years back with the Clippers, but 100. If you should win a game when you score 120. Like if you really need to score more than that, then there's a lot of issues.
You're spot on. You are spot freaking on. The 120 points is a winning score for the Kings. That is money. What you just said there. 30-point quarters, especially four of them. That's gonna lose you most ball games.
Yeah, it was just not a good game. It was not a good outing. I was traveling during the game, so I was trying to get tidbits of the game. But yeah, it was not a good outing from what I saw. And then also, I guess college football's finally over.
It's over. Yeah. Are you already on to transfer portal, and are you already on to like preseason rankings?
Oh man, there's a lot to go under, but I did call Notre Dame maybe making a run due to their side of the bracket.
You did. I remember that.
Yeah. So, again, that was just seeding. I feel like Notre Dame was good, but if they were on the bracket that had Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, I don't think they get as far as they do. But hey, this is trial and error. It's the first year of a 12 team. We're probably going to move to 16 eventually. It's all trial and error. I'm an old school, and I'm in my 20s, and I'm saying I'm an old school, BCS, an upset like, Appalachian State beating Michigan or NIU beating Notre Dame should really just tank your season. I'm kind of that guy because it makes the upsets, really big in my opinion.
Yeah.
but we did get a true national, like the best team did win. Ohio State had a $20 million roster. This format allows them to, not have to beat Michigan every year. And yeah. And then once when they kicked in the gear, hey, it
That's
does.
so good. It does.
It does. They don't have to beat Michigan to win a championship anymore. Same thing.
Well
Michigan.
done.
success.
They
You don't-
don't.
You know what's so funny about that? There was actually Ohio State fans that were still bent. They're like, yeah, well, cool. We won the national championship, but we lost to Michigan.
Hey, Woody Hayes used to say that too. They're old school coach. So he used to say nothing matters unless you beat that team up north. So,
Oh my gosh, that's too good. That's too good.
Honestly, though, as an Oregon Duck guy, I'm not looking forward to seeing 2 more years of Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. And did you see Ryan Day after the national championship when he found out at the podium that Jeremiah Smith's coming back and his knees, quote unquote, buckled?
Yeah. Oh my God, that guy's.
Come on. Ryan Day is something else, man.
Yeah, he's something else. Honestly, Ohio State was something else this year. They retained a lot of guys for this season, but I think they're gonna be good next year. But they're losing a lot of guys like Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau and Emeka Ibuka, Will Howard. They're losing they're losing a lot of guys. Hell, they even just lost their defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Penn State. Like they're losing a lot. And
yeah.
They'll probably make the playoff just because talent-wise, they for the most part, they still got, like Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith and stuff. And that can get you far enough to get to a playoff spot.
It probably won't be too long till Chip Kelly starts having his name pop up in job discussions.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, I mean, he was great at Oregon. He was great this year as the offensive coordinator for OSU. Yeah, he had a little slate with UCLA, but UCLA hasn't been a high recruiting program in forever. It's hard to get recruits there. I mean, the last quarterback I can really name that was any good is Troy Aikman.
Yeah. Well, you had Rosen, who was a complete bust.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but that's what, 2 guys? Like, it's hard to get players to go to UCLA that isn't for basketball.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point, my man. It's a good point. So which way you going tonight, Kings or Nets?
Oh, of course I'm going with the Kings. Light the beam.
Boom. Corn Dog
I want winners.
He wants a winner.
Yes,
I love
I
it,
do.
dude. Boom.
I'm packing. In Cali, I want to win.
All right, dude. Well, hey, I hope you feel better. Hit it with some, let's see, what are our remedies here? My wife always goes holistic. So get some cinnamon sticks, boil those in water, throw some honey in there. And I don't know. Her and I have different views on that. I'd be hitting it with like the liquid IV and Dayquil and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
yeah. I love my Dayquil.
someplace in the middle, right? So, all right, brother. Appreciate the call.
Let's go, Kings.
Oh, wait. Before I let you go, I think the people are looking for an update on the corn dog beam. What's the status of the corn dog beam?
Oh man, I've been working with, I've been writing letters to the mayor of Stockton. I even wrote one to, Frederick, Maryland, where I was at. I'm trying to get this thing, nationwide, just corn dog beams across the whole nation, maybe worldwide one day, and then some weird alien species will think we're some weird corn dog planet.
Dude, you know what? Like, seriously, all of those little like food trucks or whatever you want to call them, carts at the state fairs, they should just take the pictures of the actual corn dogs off their carts and just put a picture of you on there. Sales would go through the roof, man.
The corn dog mascot.
Exactly. Adam saying honey and onions? Onions. I've heard garlic, not
That's
onions.
for Shrek, man. Onions.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I'm going that way. All right, brother. Be well. Rest up. Rest that voice. We'll talk soon. Good job by you. Go Kings. Corn Dog. Good to see him, man. People always ask, where's Corn Dog? For those wondering why he's Corn Dog, I'll give you a quick reset. during the summer when Grant and I were doing our shows, off season, we cover pretty much all of sports at that point. He came on the show, and we had Sea Dog. So that was the first dog here on If You Don't Like That. Sea Dog 25. Okay, that's our dude Connor from the OG Listen App show. But then Corn Dog started putting Con Dog in as his name. So that became the second dog here on the King's Court and on the channel. Well, one night on the show, Napes called him Corn Dog. And so we just rolled with it. And in fact, I hit Napes with one of these. Which one was it? I think I dropped a little Mike Gundy sound on Napes. Yeah, this is what I dropped when he said corn dog.
Fat!
I hit him with that. And Napes thought that I called Con Dog fat. He didn't realize that he had said corn dog. And so we rolled with it a little bit further. He called a post-game show earlier in the season. I'm like, Corn Dog, what's up? And Napes is like, oh, come on. I'm like, Napes, it started with you, dude. You're the one that glossed him, Corn Dog. We're just rolling with it. So that is why he is Corn Dog. That's how we got to it. Corn Dog.
Yeet!
So anyways, let's talk really quick just about particulars, because I see a lot of you putting this in the chat. The Nets are going to be without a ton of guys tonight, including trade target Cam Johnson. He is out. Ben Simmons out as well. Cam Thomas out. Look at that. A lot of people out tonight for the Nets. Now, should that worry you or should that make you feel better? It should be somewhere in the middle. The Nets are not a super deep team, but here's the wild card about the Nets. There's a lot of young guys that are starting to get some minutes here and there. They are getting their NBA, for what it's worth, their in-game tryouts. They are putting minutes on film. So when some of these young guys hit the court, they're going to go all freaking out. So that's where you got to be cognizant. You've got to be, if you're the Kings, you got to remind them, hey, y'all are G League players. We're NBA players. You got to get up in them. You got to be physical. You got to push them back. You got to give them pressure. And you can't give them a ton of open shots like the Kings did against New York. And granted, no G League players there. That's high-level NBA talent on the Knicks. But that's what you have to be wary of a team like this. The series between these two teams, there it is. Remember, the Kings lost already this season at home to this team, the Nets. Not a highlight for the Kings. I believe that was right in the midst of that run where the Kings went, what was it, 0-6, 0-5, right around Christmas, that was leading up to Mike Brown being fired. So a game the Kings should certainly win. If I refresh my screen right now, the Kings are favored by 12.5 points. 12.5 points in this one. So let's see. Finchy, what's messed up? That he's corn dog? No. But then Dennis Dog trumps them all. Okay, see, we have so many dogs in here. We have CT Dog. We've got, I think we're up to 5 or 6 different dogs. You can't even keep up with all the dogs. Honey and Ginger, classic combination. Good job, Progressive. Well done. Okay, guys, gentlemen, you can't be getting down in here like that. You're going to get me canceled. The government's going to want a cut of the taxes on these fines. Speaking of fines, if you are just joining, Jimmy Butler suspended indefinitely, according to ESPN. Not a big surprise there. Tristan putting the ginger in. Damn, everybody's getting sick right now. It's going around. It hit our house a couple of weeks ago. So it is happening. Try to be as careful as you can. I'm not saying throw a mask back on and wash your hands till your skin's dry, but yeah, be cognizant of it. Definitely. Light the beam. Indeed. Lau, what's up? Too many teams already in the college football playoff. Interesting. Should be 8 max. You know, Lau, I don't disagree with you, and I believe they're expanding. It's either 14 or are they expanding to 12? They're expanding it here in the next couple of years. But I heard Nick Saban make an argument about it. And Nick Saban was like, well, then we're just going to get back to kind of the BCS days to a degree where teams can have 3 losses, 4 losses. And you could have 16 teams, you could have 32 teams. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there's still going to be 2 or 3 teams left out that are going to be bent. So, like, if you're Alabama fan right now and you're like, oh, we should have been in that. See how bad SMU looked. Boise got blown out. We were better than those teams. You're going to have that still, regardless of their teams 33, 34, and 35. But I kind of like 8 too. And I wish, by the way, that they would do the first 2 rounds of games on campus. Give us a second round of games on campus. That was awesome. They beat the NFL in ratings when it was on campus. Rydog, no, I don't think I could do that. Yeah, Rydog, I don't think so. But I appreciate it. Rhine Dog. All right, Progressive, I see you working. Progress Dog. I don't know. See, you can just put dog on anything. The corn dog beam may have to go on the HH show. Grant wouldn't approve of such tomfoolery. Great use of the word tomfoolery. Well done, Tristan. I'll acknowledge
me.
I picked up Noah Clowney on my fantasy team, so he at least has a good game. So he needs to have a good game for Brooklyn. Fantasy basketball and fantasy baseball, I don't know how y'all do it. It's too much. It's so many lineup changes. It's so long. Fantasy football, it's pretty straightforward. And I get that some people take it really serious. Dennis, he's putting it in. No loss tonight. Kings going off. You better be careful. Good afternoon, Furious. What's up? We're filing in.
Acknowledge me.
Let's be honest. A loss tonight will be a major step backwards. Facts. The Kings lose this game tonight, be worried. You know, Grant on our post-game show after the Knicks loss, he was a little more doom and gloom, or at least he was more on that side of things. This is who this team is. They're a 500 team. They're not a playoff team. I'm not there. But a loss tonight, we might be having.
What do you guys want to talk about?
We might be talking about a different conversation. That's for sure. Let's go back, listen to some more Doug Christie. We'll look at some of the Knicks stats, or excuse me, the net stats for the season. And then we are hitting the drawing board. We're going to talk about the Knicks game and show you a few things that really stood out. In fact, let's look at some of the playoff standings as we go back to Doug Christie. After the game, last bite, talked about Foxy playing through stuff. Also talked about the Kings not showing up, basically not playing the way that they wanted to play. Here's Doug again.
Never okay with 47%, bro. I'm not okay with 40%. I'm not okay with 38%.
Yeah, I nabbed that drop, by the way. Never okay with 47%, bro. That was a bad question. That's a credential revoker right there. Back to Doug.
It needs to come down. We just like Jokic hit a couple reading the low man and hitting the corner, and they knocked him down. But when after you either blitz or you put 2 on the ball, or Brunson's gravity causes help, you have to give them credit that they are reading the low.
No, you do not. He is out. He is not playing tonight. He is out, as well as Ben Simmons and a number of other guys for the Nets.
Oh man, they're reading the help and they're making the pass, and the pass is on time and on target. Like if that pass is at his feet, we get there, but it's not. It's in the pocket. Like that's a skill, and you got to respect that. But that's why you got to have high hands. You got to have hands in the pocket. You got to be physical. You got to, make sure that you're not letting them sneak through a trap and get through and get a look at that. Put him on his back foot, on his back shoulder, and try to make him loop the pass. That's where you get the time to make sure that you close out with a stick hand and make him put it on the ground. And tonight, it wasn't exactly how we drew it up and how we wanted it, but we'll look at it and be better for sure, because this is the NBA and winning is difficult, and that for me is unacceptable. And I know it's unacceptable for them too, because they didn't come here for this. They came here to win a ball game. I know that, man to man, looking at them in the locker room, and I respect the hell out of that.
Doug, that stretch at the end of the second quarter where you had the pace going so fast. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that sort of your ideal version of what you want this to look like for this team, where it was just the tempo was so jacked up and you had the offense really going?
There's a couple of different ways. Even when I was on television, I would talk about it. There's a couple of ways to play with pace. One is you got Race Carr and De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, and they can just go. But also you advance the basketball up the floor, make, miss, turnover, it doesn't matter. And that is how we want to play. We want to get right back at you, because not everybody's not built for that. And it's taken us a little bit to get into that type of shape. But I think that we're getting closer and closer to having the ability to play like that for longer stretches. And sometimes, I'm not calling a timeout, and they have to play through it. And to their credit, they're figuring it out at a high level on the stage. A lot of times you do this in training camp, you do it in practice in different places, but they have to do it on the stage. And I love them for the effort that they're giving inside of that process. It's tough.
What happened on the leg early fourth quarter? What were you told?
It was off. I looked at it. I think they were looking at the rim, but it wasn't the rim. I think it was a stanchion. So, that's whatever.
Yeah, we all thought that delay might benefit the Kings. It did not. I doubt it. And one, for the obvious reason, it would be a really bad look. It would be an awful look, because he was not on the injury report when they first came out. And now that Brooklyn has updated their report to say Fox is out all of a sudden, I don't think that's there's a code. Now that happens if there's a personal emergency, if a player is sick. And I don't know, I guess the Kings could go that route, but still that's pretty unethical to a degree. Say, oh, he's not feeling good. No, it wouldn't be a good look, and you'd probably fire up the Nets and fire up Jordy even more. So I would not do that. But you never know. You never know. Can Jimmy get traded already? They're not going to take 50 cents on the dollar. I don't blame them. I don't. They've been putting together a case to the NBA for what they just did, suspending him indefinitely, according to ESPN. When he went through that 7-game suspension or whatever it was, not only did they send, I think it was a 10-page document to the NBA, it went to the Players Association too. Because when you're suspended indefinitely, you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. So their argument, in a sense, per numerous reports, is insubordination. So if I'm Pat Riley, I'm not taking 50 cents on the dollar because dude's pissed off. What does Miami have to lose if they feel they have, and I'm taking a Miami approach right now saying this. What does Miami have to lose? If you're already suspending him indefinitely, you're not paying him. What do you have to lose by keeping him at home? Nothing. But if you trade him for very little, then you're hurting possibly the future of the team. So it's going to be interesting. This is where it's going to start to get ugly. If you thought everything was ugly before between these two parties, and Miami obviously feels like they have enough to suspend him indefinitely, this is where it gets ugly. He missed out on, I think it was right around $3 million when he missed those 7 games. Now you're talking about a lot more money. And I get Jimmy Butler already has generational wealth, but that's still a lot of money. Some of the people that I've known in my life that have been the richest, the most wealthy, they are the most stingy with their money. There's a reason they became wealthy. So Jimmy, regardless of having a ton of money, he's going to want that money. So it's going to get ugly between these two. Trust me. It's just, can Phoenix put a deal together? Is there a deal that works for both teams? If there's not, he's going to be suspended indefinitely. And this is going to be a big story for the media. Huge story. Kind of feel bad for the rest of the Heat, to be honest with you. All right, we're going to get back to the comments in a second. I want to talk, and we're going to go to the drawing board really quick, about some of the stuff that Doug Christie was talking about, because it was the little things. It was the non-negotiables that the Kings were not doing, unfortunately, in this last game against the Knicks. And it was not even like partway through the game. It was right off the bat. This was one of the first possessions. One of the things that we talked about coming into this one was the pick and roll, how important the pick and roll was in defending that. This was one of the first pick and rolls of the game. So Anunoby just had set the pick for Josh Hart. Look at Fox and look at DeRozan. Somebody, theoretically, unless you are not switching, is supposed to be going with Anunoby here. But instead, both of these guys, Fox and DeRozan, are here. That's not the marker I want. Give me my right marker, yo. Give me my marker that y'all can see. Here we go. All right. Instead, these guys are drawing here to Josh Hart, which it opened up wide open for two things. This ended up being a pass over the top right here to Anunoby, but you're putting Keegan Murray now in an impossible decision about who to guard. He's now guarding 2 when you have 2 on the ball. So that was one of those first lapses of the game, and something that we saw for a lot of the game, to be honest with you. And then we look even more at some of the stuff that happened in this one as we delete this one. Oh, that's why we're not deleting. There we go. As we go to our next one really quick. This was another really bad example of what the Kings were doing defensively. And it goes against pretty much all of their defensive principles. So you look here. Let's get this a little bit bolder. There we go. So you look here. The ball is right here. And Trey Lyles, look at where Trey Lyles is at right now. You have 2 Kings between Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray standing right here, guarding the middle and guarding this guy right here. But Trey Lyles, this is the hot shooter. This is Chambert. You got to get to him. This pass goes right here to Landry, a guy that's considered a quote-unquote hot on the scouting report. And it's like that Detroit situation where Fox was not out there. This is a strong side play. Trey Lyles should have already been way out here, and he was not. So it was little things like that. And we've got a bunch more to go through, both on the offensive and the defensive end as the show goes along. But a lot left to be desired for the Kings against the Knicks. Again, just the fundamental things of their defense, their closeouts. How many times did we see a three-point shooter fouled again? And I know that call was a little bit questionable, but it was those little things. Wait till we look at some of the offensive plays that I'm going to show you on the drawing board. The Kings just completely decided they weren't going to crash the rebounds. They weren't going to crash their boards that game. You had 5 people just standing around. In some instances, you had guys that were just getting out, trying to break already instead of trying to get the offensive rebounds. Keegan Murray, for the most part, was your only King that was getting there. So we'll talk more about that here in a few minutes. Get you ready for this one. Let's see. Progressive, I'll admit it, Rhino Fox is actually kind of detrimental to the team right now due to his injury. I wouldn't be opposed to him being benched or even being placed on injured reserve. It's a slippery slope. If a player, and Grant can speak to this way better than I can, but if a player says they can go, and by all accounts, if you're running him through the motions with the trainers, if you're running him through with his one-on-one coach, his player development coach, and they feel it's fine, it's really hard to tell a player you're going to sit him down because of their injury. But I don't disagree with you. And I think that's kind of the interesting place where you find yourself right now with De'Aaron Fox, because if we went down a list and we said, this is the best thing Fox does, this is the second best thing that Fox does, this is the third best thing that Fox does, right? His best attributes right now are hindered, unfortunately. They are. Really, he's kind of a spot-up shooter at this point. And that's not his game. And it's not his fault that that's where he's at right now because of his injuries, right? But to your point, Progressive, if you can't be effective with the ball in your hand, if it's difficult and painful to dribble on either hand, because he's got a thumb issue on the right, and obviously the pinky on his strong side, the left hand, right? And you're not shooting the ball well either. Well, what else can you do? You can play defense, okay? And his defense has been pretty good throughout this slump offensively. But what else can you do besides play defense? It's the little things, right? It's getting in there. It's rebounding. It's setting screens. It's doing the stuff that doesn't show up on the score sheet too often. And that's not Fox's game. He's never been a huge rebounder. And if you're having trouble dribbling the ball, if catching the ball off of a pass when it hits that hand or hits either hand at this point is painful, are you going to go crash the boards and put your hands up there and mix it up? So it is a very interesting spot that both De'Aaron Fox and the team are in. Is there an argument? Because Doug even kind of said it. Just having him on the court is a benefit. You got to pay different attention to him, but the attention that's being paid to him, is that more valuable than what you're getting out of extended minutes from, say, a Keon Ellis or somebody else? And they're going to have to navigate that. And then you got to think about this with his contract coming up. You want to keep him happy. You don't want to go against him either. So it's more complicated than just, hey, let's sit you down for a couple of games. I think it really is. It's a weird situation. Very weird. Let's see. Rock says, interesting, Dennis. Why is everything being held, or why is everything be held up? Dennis, quit talking to text, my man. Your talk to text always does this. I appreciate the submissions. Like, I don't get the weight. Are they trying to see if player... What are you talking about, Dennis? Are you talking about Jimmy? They want to get the best deal for Jimmy Butler. Dude, Dennis, if you were... Let's put the hats on a different side right now. Let's change hats. If you were the Sacramento Kings, and you were Monty McNair, and you felt like Jimmy Butler fit into your roster perfectly, and you identified him as the guy that you wanted to get at the trade deadline, would you be offering full value right now for Jimmy Butler? I sure as hell would not, because you know the situation that's going on in Miami. You know they want to get him off the books. It's the same situation that we talked about with the Kings earlier in the season when the bench was thin. We're like, oh, well, you're going to pay a premium probably, because every other team in the NBA knows you need to improve to turn your season around. So the wait is Miami's not getting offers that they feel like are enough. Because if you're, again, Monty McNair, Dennis, what are your concerns? Here's my concerns if I was Monty McNair. Well, he's disgruntled, number one. Number two, there's a list of teams that he wanted to go to, and my team isn't on the list. So who's to say that this is nothing more than a 3-4 month rental? Like, you can keep going down that list. And so there are reasons that you are diminishing your offers for him. But then the Heat in their camp, they want full offers. They want what they think is fair. And then here's the biggest thing that's holding things up. And it's not just Jimmy Butler. We haven't seen a big trade drop yet in this trade deadline lead up. So what's the market? Nobody has set the market yet. Do you want that to set the market? What if you overpay for Jimmy Butler and then you see the rest of the trades that go down at the deadline and compensation in terms of draft picks, etc., is much less? It's tricky. That's what they're waiting for, my man. It's tricky. Exactly. They're not getting the offers they want. I would trust Riley Spoelstra versus Jimmy as to who is at fault. Wouldn't want that guy on my team. It's so weird. Did anybody watch Starting Five on Netflix? Obviously, Domas was a part of that. Jimmy was going through just an awful time. His dad got diagnosed with a terminal illness. Apparently, his dad passed away. But you wouldn't know it by the way he still handled things professionally. It didn't take away from his play. So, like, it's hard to say what Jimmy's doing and if he's really being that bad of a guy. Like, we're not there. We're only reading the reports. Now, obviously, GMs and people in the know, they probably have a little bit more information. And that's probably why the offers aren't as good. Who wants a troublemaker? See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle. Don't you have to think it's somewhere in the middle without knowing the facts? Let's see. Progressive, yes, players will play through things, but if teams aren't backing injuries, that's major no-no. Or disclosing injuries. Look, the NBA's injury reporting is already a joke. It's terrible. Nothing compared to the NBA or to the NFL. Why is Sabonis on the wing if they're playing a 2-3 zone? Good question. We'll get into it here in a little bit. Justin, what's up? What happens if Fox drops 40 plus tonight? Does everyone's narrative about him then shift? No, I don't think it does. In fact, I think a 40-point night for Fox probably keeps the narrative exactly where it's at. I think and it's not necessarily from me, but I've talked about it here on this show, and and to a degree, actually, I subscribe to it. Fox gives you more in spurts than he does in consistency. When you look at his scoring average for the season, it looks really good. But on most nights, it's either, 18 to 22, or it's 33, 34, 35, 36, or in some cases, 60, 49. So I think that there is a group of the fan base that wants to see a more consistent Fox. And maybe it's not even just a night in, night out thing. It's a quarter to quarter thing. You can have halves where Fox only takes 2 shots and has 1 rebound, 1 assist, and he's not really doing much. And then you get a great second half. I think there's a segment of the fan base that wants a consistent 4 quarters. I mean, we heard this argument all the time last year. You're the clutch player of the year. Why can't you play the way that you play in the fourth, in the first, second, in the third? So it's complicated. I don't think it does change the narrative too much, though. Let's see. What's up? Brooklyn has no starter active tonight. Numbers don't matter tonight unless the Kings lose for some reason. Yeah, I still think I think it matters because the numbers give you an idea of how Jordy wants his team to play. So I think it does matter to a degree. Paul George for Jimmy Butler, maybe. Jordan Grace officially signed. Thank you, Adam. Thanks, Adam. Jordan Grace, who's got more muscles than everybody watching this, was saying all along Fox can still have a role on this team. He just has to change his role a little bit. Well, if that's the case, Donald, then the question is he happy with a role change? That means a lot sometimes. Tristan, do you guys prefer John Collins or Thomas? Assuming they would cost a similar package, let me know. Who do you guys prefer? I'll give you my answer in a minute. All I'm saying is if we keep Fox, we can't overpay for him, or will they? Well, what's your definition of overpaying, Donald? Less than 3 or 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. That's right. We're about 10 days? About 10 days away from the trade deadline. I haven't seen anything that could happen. Have you? Yeah, there's a lot of different things percolating. Phoenix certainly looking to make a move, how they consolidated, the Jazz consolidated the first round pick and sent them 3 different ones. There's some other rumblings about teams that are, looking and interested. The Cam Johnson trade. I think you will see Cam Johnson traded by the deadline. There's numerous teams that are looking for him. Milwaukee is a team also that reportedly is shuffling to be active. That they're not sure where that program's going to go. Are you going to get Giannis to stay long term? So there's a decent amount. In fact, I've got the Athletic up right now, and it's talking about it's their live trade deadline update about different guys, newest stories. Obviously, Jimmy Butler. How much has he been fined? Player to watch, Robert Williams. That's another guy they're talking about that could be on the move. Lonzo Ball. I don't know anybody that's taken on Lonzo Ball's contract at 21.4 with the injury history. Boucher, Kyle Kuzma. So, yeah, there's going to be some movement. And the fact that you're not hearing stuff means that teams are starting to kind of line up. Nothing over 40 million. Definitely not the max. He's going to want to get paid. Okay, Donald, if you're in the prime of your career, let's talk about this for a second. If you're in the prime of your career, and this is probably should be your biggest contract, and you want to win. Now, that last part's interesting, the wanting to win part, because that could beg a couple of follow-up questions. But what I'm saying, with all those things lining up, Donald, do you think in your prime you're going to want to take a different role? Grant said for a really long time, that Fox wants to be the guy. And if you're changing your role, I don't think it's turning into the guy. That's just me. Yeah. Good job by you. Yep. Spot on. Seems like Monty is willing to max him out. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, well, first off, you got to make all NBA. You got to make all NBA. That is the first thing. Let's take a listen to Doug. We'll look at the Kings schedule as well. Finish out his comments from after the game in New York. We're going to go back to the drawing board. Here's Doug Christie one last time.
Was it as simple as just not hitting your man and boxing out? Or
I mean, some of them were in the zone, and playing a zone, that's why it's not super popular, because you're getting bodies aren't on bodies. And they're flying in, you're contesting, they're overloading the side. And when that happens, it can happen. Now, the ones when we are in man-to-man, you might be in a help position. And to his credit, like, they play two-man basketball. But a lot of times when you look at teams, they're spacing and they're trying to knock down shots. Well, he's playing a whole different play on the backside, because he's actually going to do something every single time. And if you're in help, if you're wherever you're at and you don't get a body on him, he's getting in there and he's either getting the ball or getting his hands on the ball. So you almost have to, play him mano-a-mano on the backside, kind of like Dennis Rodman sometimes. It's like face guard him. Don't worry about what's going on. He's not getting it. You're not getting it. But the key is he's not getting it. But give him credit. Like that's part of who he is and what he does. And you got to respect that. And like I said, when we see him next time, we'll clean it up and be better at it.
And with their 3-point shooting, were you okay with the way you guys were defending the three? Or
All right, let's go back to the drawing board. This is a good example of some of the breakdowns that we saw again in New York. And that is why the Kings lost this one. It was 100% the basics. It was the things that are non-negotiable. And it was also something that we've talked a lot about: communication. Communication. If you are running a zone defense, the communication is so important for this team. You've got to be able to communicate. Here we go back to the drawing board. All right. So the Kings are in their zone defense. You've got two up top, Fox and Monk. The ball is on this side of the court. In fact, the ball is in the corner, getting ready to be shot. Domas, his head's here. Keegan, he's just standing flat-footed. Fox, flat-footed. What I'm saying is, look at these guys' feet. Nobody is in a position to make a play. They are completely flat-footed, which leads to a wide-open three-pointer in the corner. Completely wide open. No effort to get out and defend it. And this was all, again, in the first half. So if we go to our next one right here, defensively, again, the Kings, this time they are not in a zone defense. This time the Kings were trying to trap. You got DeMar right here. You've got Monk trying to make a play. Here was the problem. Look at Monk's angle right now, trying to make this play. Monk's angle was terrible. He's shooting to go here. Josh Hart's on his way here. The other problem here is, look, you just had a two-man pick and roll right up here. Malik Monk never got there. They didn't communicate that they were going to cover this. So Josh Hart just does what he wants. Right to the hoop. Now you're asking two men to make a decision. The ball comes here, back out, wide open three for Mikal Bridges. So those were the little things. And I've got more examples on defense. I don't want to bore you to death on those. Let's go to some of the offense, because the offense to me is what really stood out in this one. Check this out. Here is Keegan Murray shooting a three-pointer. This is in the second half. Or excuse me, this is in the first half. Keegan Murray, the ball's in the air. In fact, the ball is almost to the rim. We're already right here. Look at De'Aaron Fox, flat-footed, standing around. Look at Kevin Huerter, flat-footed, standing around. Look at Malik Monk, flat-footed, standing around. The only person in position trying to get a rebound is Domantas Sabonis. All of these guys should be crashing the boards. Those are the non-negotiables. That is why the Kings only had, I believe it was like, what did they end up having in terms of offensive rebounds? The Kings ended up with 9 offensive rebounds. That is an example of why the Kings all night were not crashing the boards. They were just watching. There's other plays that I've screenshotted where you can't even see some of the Kings that were in the frame because they're already in the backcourt. So it's really tough to win games. And that's why Doug said what he said at the beginning of the show. So we'll keep going to some more of those as we go along. We're talking Kings. We are talking Nets. How's everybody doing today? A lot going on. We have not talked any football yet either. If you want to get in on the show, would love to have you here. You can use the QR code or you can use the link in the chat. We're getting you ready for the Kings and the Nets. The Kings look to stop this 2-game skid. And my, oh my, how important was it that the Kings got that victory? First Golden State at home. This could be a very bad position to be in going into Brooklyn. Brooklyn tonight without most of its team. In fact, basically all of its starters. You see right there. No Cam Johnson, most notably. No Ben Simmons. This is a game where if the Kings play their game, they bring those non-negotiables that Doug Christie talks about. They play like the Knicks played, and I'm not talking about making shots offensively, but hustling-wise, being physical. All those things happen tonight. This should be a game where the Kings get back on track. Spread still 12.5 in this one. If you notice, no Kings on the injury report. The history between these two, the Brooklyn Nets won earlier this season back in November. Some thought it was one of the Kings' worst losses of the year. I wasn't ready to go there, but Jordi Fernandez definitely outcoached Mike Brown in that one. A lot going on in the league as well. Here's what the Kings have coming up schedule-wise for the rest of the trip. You've got Philadelphia, who will be without Embiid, so you can mark that down. Even though Maxey will be playing as of now, Embiid will not, which is going to be big for this Kings. But look at how this road trip finishes up. You've still got Oklahoma City, and you've still got Minnesota. So you have to, in my opinion, if you're the Kings, tonight in Philly, they're must-wins. You've got to get these next 2 games because all bets are off when you're at Oklahoma City, the best team in the West, arguably the best team in the league, and then Minnesota, who's playing better. Minnesota beat Denver on its home court over the weekend on national TV. So tonight is just so important for this team. So let me know what your keys are for this one. Let me know how you're feeling about it. And one thing we haven't talked about either is the rotation for the Kings. I predicted on the pregame show last game that Doug McDermott might get Kevin Huerter's first rotation, and he did. What's everybody's thoughts on Devin Carter? What's going on there? How do you feel Devin looks? What's going on? Can he help tonight? Where's Doug going to turn? Is DeMar DeRozan going to keep it rolling? So get in here. Let me know what you're thinking. We can talk trade deadline. We can do anything that you want to do. It was a busy weekend in sports. In the NFL, the Super Bowl is set. We are having a rematch. Did anybody think Kansas City got calls again this last weekend? I'm just curious. I saw some of that out there. on the internet, but Kansas City and the Eagles are going to be matching back up in the Super Bowl. You know, the first tweet or the first message that I got as soon as the football games ended, I got a message from this guy.
So I'm making a point that I am really far in the rear.
Haunted Horse. For those that don't know, Haunted Horse hit this massive parlay a couple of Super Bowls ago when the Eagles and the Chiefs faced off. He bet $5 and he ended up winning $1,000. The first text message, basically as soon as the game went final, is I'm making the same bet. I'm going with the same bet. Like, you're a beauty, Haunted Horse. You are a freaking beauty. Let's get back to the chat for a few minutes, and then we're going to go back to the drawing board and keep getting ready for this one tonight. Kings Nets, just about an hour and 15 minutes away. A lot of questions about the trade deadline. A lot of questions about Fox. What's up, Al? Welcome in. A lot of people talking about the max contract. He's got to make all NBA first. In fact, let's read this really quick, and then we'll go through your comments. The Athletic came out with an article today. And by the way, we should acknowledge this. It's the 5-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death. 5-year anniversary. Or at least this last weekend was. No, today is the 5-year anniversary. Kobe, Gigi, and 7 others lost their lives in that helicopter accident. I can't believe it's been 5 years. It's insane to me. So the Athletic is predicting the Western Conference reserves, which will be announced this Thursday. So a lot of talk around Sabonis, a lot of talk around Fox. Do they deserve? Here is what the Athletic has. The Athletic has the backcourt as Anthony Edwards, which is no surprise, Norman Powell. They've got a front court of Wemby, Jalen Williams, and Anthony Davis. That's how they're going. Wild cards. Şengün. Wild card. Sabonis. And then it says it's a tough call between Sabonis and his teammate De'Aaron Fox here. But I'm giving the slight edge to Sabonis for the overall production. Fox has not been as quite consistent as Sabonis, but both are deserving of heavy consideration. So check out the omissions that they write. These are the guys that are going to be missing the All-Star game, in the opinion of the Athletic. James Harden, De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie Irving, and how about this name? This one throws me off. Devin Booker. They have Devin Booker missing the All-Star game. So I saw in the chat about Fox and the Max. I don't see how, if you're not going to be possibly an all-star, unless a lot of other guys in front of you don't hit that 65 game standard, I don't know how you make all NBA. That's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough. Todd, what's up today? Trade him for a package similar to Cousins in New Orleans. I don't think that package is good enough. I think you can get a much better package for De'Aaron Fox than what you got for Boogie Cousins. I just do. Al, I thought Supermax was only available to a player if he makes all NBA. That is true. Progressive, the Chicago Bulls agree rumored to be having a huge fire sale at the deadline. Look, I have been on the record for a minute about this. If there is any way you can go get Kobe White, I would be in heaven. Kobe White would be an incredible fit with, he's your point guard and he runs the pick and roll incredibly well. He's explosive. You saw what he did on Wemby. He's a high IQ player. Could you go get Kobe White? Now, if you did some type of combination with Chicago that could get you Kobe White in a Fox trade, to me, that is like a situation where you're getting rid of, and we talked about it on the post-game show, you're getting rid of a Jason Williams, quote unquote. Fox is better than Jason, but these teams are kind of similar crossroads. You're getting rid of Jason Williams and you're getting a Mike Bibby. I love what Kobe White brings to the game. Hell of a player. I'm looking for a package like that. All NBA to 325. Was it 325 or 225 years? I got to look at the numbers. Me to Fox, you're not that guy. Zach LaVine for Jimmy Butler. Maybe. It's a lot of money to put on the books for a long time for Pat Riley. Can Fox make All NBA next year and be eligible for the Supermax? I don't know. I think it's this year because it's the year before your contract is up. Butler was drafted by the Bulls. He was. Good job by you. Yours, that's diabolical. I love all the inner talk here. Is a team required to pay him the max if he makes All NBA? Are they forced to? No. It makes him eligible. Now, if you're eligible for it, you're going to put your foot down and say, I'm worth it. I wouldn't be worth the Supermax if my play didn't show that. So, yeah, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. Do you think the Kings should trade Fox for good role / bench players in draft picks or another star like player? No, I think if you were to trade De'Aaron, you're looking for, in my opinion, there has to be some form of a point guard included in that deal, whether it's a very good backup or it's somebody that will probably be a level below De'Aaron, but they could step in to the starting lineup or easily run that second unit. I think you need a combination. I think it's got to be probably a player that's ready right now, at least one that's ready right now, and a name that not like a Buddy Hield, like the New Orleans Cousins trade. And I think you got to get some draft capital because when you look at the Kings payroll, in fact, let's put this up really quick because it's a good conversation. Here is the Kings payroll for the next couple years as we get there. Navigating the new system. Give me 2 seconds. Got to get the board down. Here we go. All right. So here's the Kings payroll over the next few years. You've got Domas, who is through. This is just this year. Excuse me. I wanted every year. Hold on. Let's get to the Kings payroll right now. Give us 2 seconds. This is a much better example. Here we go. Sacramento Kings salaries. Here we go. That's what we're looking for. All right. No, I don't want notifications. Notifications are so annoying. You're either, I don't know anybody that's in the middle. Tell me if you are in the chat. Either you're all for getting all the notifications, which means your phone is dinging every 2 seconds, or you're super picky about who you allow to give you notifications. I am the latter. I wonder what type you are. So Domas, you've got him through 27-28. Foxy, we know the deal there. DeRozan, 26-27. Monk, now that's a great deal. Monk's contract is so friendly. You've got him possibly through 27-28. Blue, which means it is a player option. So here's what I'm thinking. If Malik Monk continues to play the way that he's been playing, he's going to opt out of that. He's going to want more money that year. So here's the thing that I want to point out to everybody when we talk about the Fox decision and how it affects the team or what happens. In 27-28, you are likely going to be in a position where you're looking at extensions for Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. both of them. You're not likely going to have Malik Monk at a small number. It's going to be more, in my opinion, than 21 million. Meaning that would be year two of De'Aaron's new contract. If he got a supermax here, or if he re-signed here, whatever that number would be, he would be in contract year 2. No reason to believe so Domas would go somewhere, but if Malik continues to play the way that he's played, he's worth more than what he's making. Period. End of story. So that is a very friendly contract. Herder will be gone. Keegan Murray, we've not talked about him. Next year is going to be the last year, or excuse me, not next year, but the year after that will be your last year of Keegan Murray. The Kings already picked up that option. So you are now going to be coming up on conversations with Keegan, Malik, and Domas, the 4 members of this core. But you would have De'Aaron under contract. Trey's going to be gone. Devin, not a problem. The next 4 we know, those will probably be off the books and gone, no longer here. Keon's going to want to get paid next year. That's for sure. You know the team's picking up Keon's option as soon as possible. Colby Jones, that'll be an interesting one, but that's not very much money. So here's the gist of what I'm saying. The majority of the money that you're going to have really is how you're going to improve this team, I should say, is tied up in this Fox thing. If you go Supermax and you can sign Foxy for the Supermax and not have it affect you in the tax area or not have it go against the cap because you're re-signing your own free agent. But the bottom line is, by the time you roll around to a point where you're looking at this core, you're going to have to mix in some draft picks. You got to mix in some draft picks. And that's why this decision right now about whether you trade for Cam Johnson, whether you trade for Valanciunas, whether you trade for John Collins, it doesn't seem like a first-round pick here, a second-round pick there would be all that important, but it really is, because you're going to have a ton of money tied up. Let's say that Fox signs a $40 million extension. Let's say he doesn't get the Supermax. And to me, $40 million per year, De'Aaron would think that was very team friendly, in my opinion. So let's say he makes $40 million a year. You don't have a ton of money to improve the team. You've got Kevin Herter's money off the books. You've got Trey's off the books. What's that? 24.8, almost 25 million. You've got these small ones off the books. But that's what? Between 6, 8, that's about $12 million. But that's 4 roster spots. So if you're at $12 million for those 4 roster spots, 25 between Lyles and Herter, you're at about $37 million to sign 6 different roster spots and improve this team. And I get that there's going to be some adjustment for inflation. The cap goes up every year. But do you see the predicament this Kings team is in? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is you're going to keep this team, its core together, you're not going to be able to improve it very much. Unless it's through the draft, unless it's through player development. You're not going to be able to. So that's why when we're looking at this trade deadline, picks matter. You're almost looking at this picture, you're almost forced. Like if you want to improve this team tremendously and switch things up, Somebody's got to go. Now, whether it's Fox, whether it's Keegan, whether it's Domas, whether it's Malik, somebody's got to go. This whole idea of making this team better, the money's not there. You've got too much invested. And all the while, let me remind you right now about this team. You got some really friendly contracts. Look at what Keegan's making. Look at what Keon's making. Look at what Malik is making. It's complicated. If I'm Monty McNair, I'm uncomfortable. You know, we might not. You might think I'm crazy about focusing the discussions around Fox, and it has been because he's the next to come up. But, you know, maybe the discussion needs to be, we need to come to terms with the facts that this team, as constructed, is good enough to be in the play-in and maybe make the playoffs, but they're not good enough to make a run at a championship. And without moving one part, without whether it's Fox, whether it's DeRozan, whether it is Sabonis, without moving one of the core parts, this team's going to stay where it's at. That's why this is so interesting. This whole discussion around Fox is so crazy. Because what do you do? It's not just a Fox thing. I mean, the writing's on the wall. The writing is on the wall that somebody's going to have to go. Somebody's going to have to go. Jose, thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate you being here. I can acknowledge that.
Acknowledge me.
In my opinion, Fox is still hurt from the fall. Not a bad take. He had versus the Grizzlies. Even Doug as head coach, he had 33 and 35 points. He should sit for a few weeks. You know, it's funny you say that. That's a good point that we have not considered. Is there still something going on from that fall? That was a serious fall. De'Aaron could not sleep the night after it happened. And the bottom line, the team was humming with him sitting. So did he come back too soon? Who knows? Who knows? A lot to consider. Let's go back to, if you're just joining us, we're going to listen to DC again because I think it's really important. It draws to what I was talking about with the whiteboard. We'll hit the whiteboard again here in a second. But here was DC talking about last game, and he hits it on the head. He said the Kings really just did not do the things that they usually do. Here was Doug.
3 30-point quarters. It's hard to definitely overcome. I looked at the stat sheet and 17 threes. It felt like 25 threes. I think because a lot of them were super timely. A lot of areas that we normally thrive in, and kind of my message to them was kind of they beat us at our own game. Points in the paint, second chance points, fast break points. But we will lick our wounds and be ready to play in Brooklyn for sure, for sure.
What did you guys do in that second that got you back in that didn't necessarily carry over the rest of the game?
We played a bit of zone. They missed some shots. But, you know, part of it is you got to make sure that your offensive that you clear the board. And 17 offensive rebounds is just too many. You got 7 from Josh Hart. Like, these are things that we gotta. And I talked to them in the huddle. Is like a lot of this is little things. Like, you get a stop, you don't offensive rebound, you turn the ball over, they go down and hit a 3. Like, all those little things at the end of the night start to add up. And when we did that in the second quarter, it was solid. We came back in the third and fourth, and like I said, timely threes. Just give them credit. I mean, they made shots, and they're a heck of a ball club. And Tibbs is a hell of a coach. But we'll see him again.
Obviously, you're not going to encourage your star player to sit, but what's the balance you try to find between Fox and looking at the shooting performance, knowing he's dealing with a couple of hand injuries, and trying to decide, like, do we give him a night here or there, or do you just let him
I think more than anything, like what we're learning about Fox is the leadership aspect of the responsibility of being one of the faces of a franchise. And when you look at him being dinged up here and there, and he's buckling up and he's getting at it, that's what leadership is all about. Is that he can affect the game in a lot of different ways. He affects it defensively. He can rebound the basketball. He pushes the ball. It's going to click. Not really worried about that. But I know from being in that position, it's hard. But at the same time, there's a big responsibility, and he is not ducking it. And I respect the hell out of that.
Progressive, you nailed it. I made this argument when they changed the format where they're going to do 3 8-man teams, and then they're going to do another 8. They're going to do another team made of whoever wins the Rising Stars games or the Rising Star game. It's ridiculous that an NBA roster has 15. I believe it's 15. It's either 14 or 15. It's ridiculous that you only have 12 All-Stars, especially if you are going to this format, because if you gave each team 3 more, then you have another squad. You've got 8 squads of All-Stars split up, and then you can do, or no, you have 4 squads of All-Stars, split up, and then you take the MVP from each team in the Rising Stars game, and you put them on that 4th team of All-Stars. It's stupid that they do 12. You are spot freaking on. Great point by you. We're going to keep that conversation going. I do want to go back to the drawing board. It's the drawing board. Here we go. So, again, this was in the second half. Keegan Murray, he's shooting the ball. He is right here. Keegan's right here shooting the ball, okay? Look at where all the Kings are at. You've got Malik Monk at half court watching. DeRozan beyond the three-point line watching. Fox watching. Even Domas just watching. Normal Kings basketball, when they won their 10 games under Doug Christie, DeRozan to the hoop. You got Sabonis obviously crashing. You've got Fox crashing. What happens is, unless the shooter knows that where the ball is going to come off, then you've got the shooter getting back and you've got Malik Monk getting back to handle the defense. But instead, the Kings were just standing there. And it's what they did most of the night, unfortunately. On offense, here's our last drawing board picture really quick. And it demonstrates some of the same issues. Look at this. This is on a different level, though. You've got Domas right here in the paint going to work. And this is what I saw a lot of the game. Domas working right here. What are the Kings supposed to be doing under Doug Christie? He wants a lot of cutting. He wants a lot of looks. He wants the ball to be sprayed. Keon Ellis in no position to have the ball sprayed out to him. Keegan just made the pass. That's all well and good. What about DeRozan? Great time for a backdoor cut. I know you don't necessarily want to bring your guy closer to Sabonis, but that's what keeps the defense honest. What about Malik coming from the backside with a cut? There was nothing going on. The Kings just stood around and watched. And so tonight, I expect to see a much different version of the Kings tonight. The one play that is so important to this team, it's the pick and roll. We went over it on the post game last show, and we'll continue to talk about that as the season goes along. But a lot of watching last game when the Kings were running the pick and roll, definitely want to see that improve. As for the Kings season stats right now, what we're looking at for the season, 3-pointers, all of the sudden, you remember how we were talking about the 3-pointers? They're still 29th which means they are the second worst at allowing the 3-point ball. They've allowed the second most threes to their opponents in the league. So you look for that to hopefully come down a little bit. 3-point percentage has creeped up again. That had creeped down the last time we checked in on these. It was right around 25. So we're back up to 27. 3-point attempts, I'm good with. I'm glad it's still high. 21, still high. But I am okay with the fact that it's not 29 or 30. It's gone down to 21. So the Kings are doing okay there, but they're fouling shooters. I don't know where this fouling the 3-point shooter has come from. They got a bad call on one last game, but we've seen them at times. In fact, a couple of games ago, they did it in Denver. They fouled 3 times a guy shooting a 3-pointer. So that's got to improve. As for the offense, the Kings still taking care of the ball pretty good, but their turnovers have just come at really bad times. They've just been mindless turnovers. So that's time and place. That's basketball IQ. The number on the season, I'm okay with for the most part. Free throw percentage, you got to be happy with that. They are second in the NBA in free throw percentage. Free throw attempts, though, 13th in the NBA at 21.9. That has gone down a little bit. We want to see that number go back up. Free throws were the missing ingredient from last season. Free throw attempts were down 21+% last season. So this is a good bounce back. Don't get me wrong. Look at made free throws. They're up 14.4% this year, but it's an important part, especially if you're going to be playing a high pace. If you're going to be pushing the ball, then you definitely want to get those little breaks in between. Also gives you a chance to set your defense if you're Sacramento. And the one thing that we talk about with the pace that did not happen last game, and Doug talked about it post game as well, make, miss, turnover, whatever it is, he wants the ball being pushed up the court. And so we got to see the Kings get back to that tonight a little bit. Opponent points slowly creeping up. The Kings 22nd in the NBA at that. 117 a game scoring themselves. It's good for 6th in the NBA. Pace 7th. That has gotten much better. At the start of training camp, Monty McNair and Mike Brown both said a goal of theirs was to make sure that pace was back to the top 5 in the NBA. So the Kings slowly trying to creep back. But you look on the whole, you've got a positive 2.0 net rating. Not bad at all. Defensive rating, back to about middle of the league. Offensive rating, 7th. A lot of that, again, has to do with free throws. So looking for the Kings to be the ones that set the tone tonight physically. Do not let Brooklyn step in to open 3-point shots. When you let teams do that, good luck. Good luck. That's when you start giving confidence, especially when it happens in the first quarter, to your opponent. When you're playing a team tonight that is missing most of its starting lineup, you cannot let those young guys start to get some belief that it's going to start falling for them, because all of a sudden it's, hey, I can do this. I can play in the NBA. Who needs Cam Johnson? Ben Simmons, who? Right? So you got to knock them off track. You've also got to bump cutters. Kings have not done that the last couple games. So we're looking at the Kings numbers. That's what they look like going in tonight. Again, Kings and Brooklyn Nets, if you're just joining us. Brooklyn going to be without most of their starting lineup. Cam Johnson, most notably, not playing in this one. And by the way, Brooklyn's last outing, they only scored like 95 points. Let's actually go look at that really quick on there. And here was their last stretch of games. They don't score a ton. Dating back, they lost to Detroit, 98 points. Lost to Denver, 106 points. An overtime loss, 111 points. They did win at Portland. They exploded that night, scored 132. What about the Clippers game? 67 points. What I'm telling you is if this team has a 35 or 40-point quarter, I'm going to be lit if I'm Doug Christie. The Knicks had 3 quarters over 30 points, and a couple of them were closer to 40 than 30. But even the scoring in their last few outings, only 97 against Miami, 84 against Phoenix. We're not talking about defensive stoppers here. Now, Miami plays a good zone. The Knicks, 95 points they scored. So the Kings, there's no excuse. The Kings should be holding this team to under 100 points tonight, especially without Cam Johnson and some of the other guys that are important to them. As for the Western Conference playoff picture, the Kings still in there in the 10th seed, but you can see every single game matters, especially these games. These games against the bottom tier Eastern Conference teams have to be wins because there's so much attrition in the Western Conference. The West is so strong. You're sitting there as the Kings at 23-22. You're still a game over 500, but you look at the 6th seed, you're only 3 games in the loss column from the 6th seed. 4 games. 4 games. Or excuse me, no, I'm looking at that wrong. That's 19. You are 3 games in the loss column. So 4 games from the 5th seed. It's crazy. So the Kings got to get this one tonight. There is no excuse for it. They should get this one tonight. But give me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. It should be a big, fat win for the Kings. Speaking of big, fat things, get yourself to Bennett's Restaurants, Bennett's American Cooking. 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area: Howland, Fair Oaks, Roseville, and Rockland. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. It is Monday night wine and dine, meaning you can get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine for under $70. Also, don't forget about happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. Their sips and tastes and their weekend brunch to absolutely die for. I tell you all the time, it's my family's favorite. Absolutely is. We hit it up yesterday. We went to the location off of Howe in Fair Oaks. Could not be better. Are you kidding me? Their steak Cobb salad, amazing. My wife had the ahi pokey off the freaking charts. Look at the kids' chicken tenders. Even those look freaking amazing. We had an amazing meal, the spinach and artichoke dip, one of our favorites as well. Brunch on the weekends at every location, 11 to 2 p.m. You can get 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne for under $50. And if you've got a bigger group, you see that they've got some beautiful private dining rooms. You can get your own area of the restaurant. Brian will set it aside for you. You go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can make reservations there. You can also buy gift cards. Check out the entire menu. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring in part today's King's Court and really our pregame show as well. And check this out. If you have a group getting together, whether it's at your house, whether it's going to be at the restaurant and you're going to do the private dining room, give Brian and the team a call because they can set you up with whichever type of menu that you're looking to do. And they love catering to big groups. Check this out from Brian. He sent me this the other day.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey, what are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett's and take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for any.
Give them a call. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can get the phone numbers there again. Bennett's prime cuts of seafood and steak. We love us some Bennett's. And there's always enough to take home too. The leftovers. Are you kidding me? So good. Your son looks like you. Yeah, the little man. He does look like me. He's got his mom's eyes though. Definitely has mama's eyes for sure. You know who invented the Cobb salad? Bob Cobb. Is that supposed to be a funny, Adam? Bob Cobb created the Cobb salad. Come on, Adam.
Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
What am I supposed to do with that, Adam? Come on. Rhino, what will your mindset be if the Nets pull this off? You know, I'll be down on the team for sure. My mindset will be this. If the Kings lose tonight to the Nets, I am going to be questioning whether this 10-4 run under Doug Christie was an extended honeymoon phase. Because if the Kings can't come out and play their game against an undermanned bottom of the barrel Eastern Conference team, even though it's on the road, that's a problem. That will tell me that as good as I felt about the Washington game, where the Kings handled their business and did not make it close, that will make me think twice. When the Kings handled Washington the way they did, I'm like, okay, they've moved past that. They've matured past that. We are past those days of playing down like that. But if you lose to this team, yes, I'm going to be thinking, is this an extended honeymoon? Huge improvement. Agreed. 100% agree. Yep, absolutely. Well said. Well said. And if you're going to do that, you got to know time and place. And sometimes Malik is bad about that. Sometimes Foxy is bad about that. I know in the NBA, there's kind of this rule now that there's no bad three-pointer. But if you don't have people under the bucket to rebound, it's a bad three-pointer, especially if you have numbers. So, yeah, time and place. Al, Al, do I have the phone up? Yeah, Al, you can try calling back, my man. The phone actually has to be up on my screen. You can try calling now. We'll get you on the show. 916-822-9485. All-Star Game's a waste of time. Yeah, Adams. Do you remember Adam Silver? This guy is pounding his head at the wall, saying, why can we not make our All-Star Game entertaining? And here's the bottom line. The guys aren't playing for anything. What happens if you lose the game? Nothing. There's nothing on the line in the All-Star Game. You could put 500,000 on the line. Maybe they'll play hard, but the reality is if you're an All-Star, you're probably already making a ton of money, not only from your contract, but shoe deals, sponsorships. But yeah, the last All-Star Game was it was freaking rock bottom for Adam Silver. Listen to this.
And to the Eastern Conference All-Stars, you scored the most points. Well, congratulations.
You scored the most points. Well, congratulations. And that's when Adam Silver got so pissed off that All-Star Game went the way that it did, that they changed the whistle in the NBA. And he wasn't even shy about it. He acknowledges the change. So they've got to do something a little better. I don't know if this new format is it. I really don't think it's it. I think it's a glorified hoop it up, if you ask me. But the All-Star Game, complete mess. Complete mess.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
All right, getting back to the comments, and then we're gonna get out. We're gonna give you a few minutes to get ready for this one. Tipping off in just about we're about 40 minutes from tip off. About 41 minutes. The ball's gonna go up at about 4:37. So, which way you guys going? Do you guys want to give me your scores? What are your scores for tonight? Oh, great! We're getting more of this. Robert H. Cobb, the owner of Brown Derby Restaurant in Los Angeles. Wow, Horse, you really did some research here. It's in Los Angeles, huh? Look at Horse doing his research. Excuse me, let me start that over. Robert H. Cobb, the owner of Brown Derby Restaurant in
Los Angeles,
is said to have invented the Cobb salad in the 1930s. The salad is named after him. The Cobb salad's getting a ton of run here. You know, why talk basketball? You guys just want to talk about the Cobb salad? I didn't think the Cobb salad was going to get this much run, but apparently the Cobb salad is getting this much run.
That's terrible.
No, it's not terrible. It's delicious. Look at that steak. It's perfectly medium rare. Are you kidding me? That ahi was good too. All right, Al's going to bail us out. Let's go to the phones. My man, Al, you're on the air. What's up, buddy?
Thanks, Ryan. Are you getting ready to sign off real quick? Because I'll make it quick.
No, go for it, bro. We're here.
Yeah. You know, watch the two games. I want to talk just a little football.
Yeah.
You know, first off, the Commanders had a heck of a run, and they crashed back to earth with a huge stud, but they held in there for a half. But the Commanders need to find a few pieces on defense, and Philly, just fed the ball to Barkley and Hurts. Their Eagles fans have been down on Hurts because he hasn't thrown for 300 yards in a game, which that makes no sense to me, but that's Eagles fans. When it's working with Saquon, Saquon's the focal point, And I just think, the better team won there. But the whole thing with Kansas City is, I've said this to you before, they're this decade's Patriots because they're always winning. And when a team is in that position, they're always winning. Most fans bases are gonna grow to hate them. Not only are they always winning, but now you see the Kelsey brothers everywhere in commercials, Patrick Mahomes in the commercials, the Taylor Swift thing, even my wife, who really doesn't watch football. I think I mentioned this to you last time I talked to you. When the Bills beat them earlier in the year, we were in our trailer down in Pismo Beach watching the game, and my wife is actually yelling for the Bills to go, who are you, because she just can't stand the Chiefs too. So it's just, and the whole thing. Now, let me ask your take on the pass where they called it a completion for the word. It looked like everybody's saying the ball hit the ground. That's not the point. The ball can hit the ground. The rule of the ball hitting the ground is okay as long as the receiver maintains possession when it hits the ground and it doesn't move.
Exactly.
Now that rule, actually, that rule, if you look up the Burt Emanuel rule, he was a wide receiver for Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the day when they had their great defenses. The Rams were playing them in a 1999 season 2000 championship game, and the Burt Emanuel, where he caught the ball, he clearly had it in his hand. It hit the ground, didn't move, and it's incomplete because it hit the ground. Well, they rethought that, and they just changed the rule. So people keep saying the ball hit the ground. That's not the issue. The issue is, did it move?
Right.
Did it move? Now, I've looked at this replay, Ryan, and also they're saying, well, the defender had more ball. As long as Worthy had his hand on the ball. Okay, Worthy had his hand over the top of the ball. This is what I'm seeing, and I want to hear your take. And the other, the Bills, he had maybe had a little bit more of the ball, but if there's simultaneous possession goes to the offense. Right. So I looked at the play. What I'm looking for is not that the ball hit the ground, because I really don't get why. It might make a sense here. The ball hitting the ground has no relevance as long as it doesn't move.
So,
and I don't see the ball move. Do you? Did you?
I did not really see it move. Tristan disagrees. He thinks it moved. It's one of those. It depends on which side of the lens you're watching it from, right? as a Bills fan or a non-partial fan or a Chiefs fan. I get it. I'm fine with the Chiefs being back. I think everybody is taking too much time to hate on the Chiefs to realize you're watching something that very well could never happen again. 3 Super Bowls in a row. That's just stupid, especially in our generation with free agency. But I'm with your wife. The Taylor Swift stuff, it's too much.
She's just the whole Chiefs thing is just too much. And now it's just, the Patriots beat my Rams twice. The Patriots were the team I hated, and then, but, maybe, I understand Tristan, and I'm taking this from, I'm a Rams fan. So I'm just looking at the play, and I'm trying to see if, I'll go back and look at it again, but I'm telling you. And then the first down stop when Allen tries to rush for it, that was one referee, the telecast. Did you see this? They circle, I think it was Romo circles one referee at one side. He's in kind of one position, and then the other referee on the other side.
Right.
And they're kind of like slightly off, which is, I thought did you think he had it? It was close.
Again, it was close. I guess here's the problem. We're taking one play as a sample size. I wonder if we went back and watched the entire game under the lens of when they go to spot the ball, does the line judge, and then what's the other ref called? It's the line judge and
I can't remember. I should know this, but I just mostly focus on the game part of it.
Yeah, so I guess okay, so here we go. Here's what it's called. It's the line judge, and anyways, you know what? Screw it. So I guess my point being is, how often will those two overrule each other? Does that happen throughout the game? Was that the only time it happened during the game? I thought he had it, though. I thought he had it.
It looked like it, but the play before, I looked at the play before, and it looked to me that the spot was bad on the play before, and he might have had it. But when you wrap it all up, the Bills had the ball. There's 3 minutes. They had a chance to go down and kick a tying field goal or win the game. They had their opportunities, and then Spagnuolo dials up some brilliant blitz packages, and Allen's under duress, and they had their chance. They had the final possession to go down and tie it.
Yep.
But I thought this was finally the Bills' year, and I really had a feeling like that, but. My nephew's saying, "Oh, it's the Buffalo Bills," and I felt bad for their fan base. But Mahomes, man, I thought this was easily his best playoff game in maybe a couple seasons, because he was tucking it and running it, man, and he wasn't. There was he slid a couple times, but he ran it in the end zone. He took on the tackle, and there was no flag. So, my last comment.
Really quick, Al.
Yeah.
I heard an incredible stat going into yesterday's game that he's not the best runner, but he's the most efficient runner. I think 23 of his 36 runs have been for first downs. That's incredible. Mahomes.
You know what? Oh, you know what? For me, he's not a runner in the essence of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. I totally agree with your comment there. When you saw, I totally agree with that. In fact, what I see with Mahomes is he's looking to throw. You have to get that guy on the ground completely, or he's still looking to throw. And so he's hey, I don't have any animosity. I've always liked Andy Reid. But my team hasn't lost to him. My brother's a Niner fan, so he hates the Chiefs because they've lost 2 to him. But I'll just ask you real quick. I like your old coach going to the Raiders. People keep focusing on Carroll's age. You know this, Ryan. He's 73, but he's got the energy of a 23-year-old.
Yep.
He knows football.
Yep. I'm completely with you.
And, I asked Grant on the chat, I can't talk to him, I said, what do you think of the Ben Johnson hire for the Bears? And he said he didn't like it because he thought that situation, he would rather go with an experienced coach. And, I think Pete Carroll's, he knows football. I've seen this, your Seahawks, those teams, man, Pete Carroll's teams. I always thought the Carroll Seahawks and Harbaugh's Niners, that was a game I circled the calendar on.
Oh,
my Rams were struggling in those because it goes all the way to, Carroll and Harbaugh back to college. And I just think the Raiders, he's going to surround himself with a staff. The only thing they got to do now is fix it's not a small thing, fix their quarterback situation. O'Connell isn't it. I'm not completely in tune with the Raiders, but I mean, they've got what do you think of, I know Sam Darnold struggled in his final two games, the last game in the regular season and the playoff game against the Rams, but he had a solid year. You think, they could get him on the cheap because of his struggles the last two games. You think if they could get him for the right price, would you pull the trigger on that? Or?
I don't know if I would or I wouldn't. I think a lot of Darnold's success this year had to do with Kevin O'Connell. Those two had worked together going back to Sam's high school days. And I just felt like he put him in a lot of positions and a lot of the different play designs to play up to some of Sam's strengths. So I don't know what his bounce back will look like. He had a great season. There's a lot of talk, Al, about Russell Wilson possibly ending up.
What do you? I think. Hey, Russ had a. I know they struggled. They had a tough final 5 games, but that wasn't an easy. And that was the gauntlet. They played just about every top team in the league during that stretch. The Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens. So part of that, you're playing some good teams. He had a good season. And Pete, I didn't know that about Kevin O'Connell and Darnold. That's great information all the way back to high school. And having that familiarity, Pete's got, of course, familiar with Russ. They had some great years back with the Seahawks, and they could probably get him on the cheap. I don't know how the contract will work out.
Yeah, there's a reason, though, that they moved Russ with Pete still there. It wasn't working towards the end of it. I don't know. You can think about the good days and the bad days. Russ is just I think Russ's shelf life in the NFL has pretty much expired because he's just such a different type of quarterback. I could do a whole show on the type of quarterback he is and what it means for your team and how you have to play. But yeah, so it's a good conversation. Let's keep it up on another day. I'm going to get ready to wrap this one up, but I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right. Talk
soon. Thanks for taking my call. Take care.
You're the best, Al. Good stuff from Al right there. Hey, can you guys, Adam, Horse.
Shut up. Stop. Move forward.
What are we doing? The chat has turned completely Seinfeld/clone into salad talk. Horse, you're lucky I don't have certain sound drops here. That's all I'm going to say. And by the way, for those making the argument, there's bacon on that salad. Why don't you look? There is bacon on the cob. So it is a cob. You just have steak instead of the turkey and the ham. Everything else is intact. And by the way, I wanted blue cheese dressing instead of the red wine vinaigrette that it comes with. So if that's going to be your argument too, that was my choice. It's a damn good Cobb salad from Bennett's. Come on. Come on. Who's not going to take steak over turkey and ham? I'm taking steak over every day over that. Come on now. Good call from Al, talking some football. I'm glad we got that mixed in. We did talk about the Jimmy Butler situation a little bit. Desco, really, I'll give you a 20-second summary on it. It's if you're the Heat and you feel like you have the grounds to suspend him indefinitely, then you do it. What's the rush to move him? You're not paying him anyways. You do what's right for the team. Now it's going to turn into a much uglier fight than it has been now that he's suspended indefinitely. So, okay, here we go. Look at you guys just keeping going in the chat. I love it. All right, let's end here on the film room. We're going to go back to the drawing board one more time, and then we're going to wrap this thing up with a bow and get you out for the game tonight. So really quick, I think this is an important play. This is something the Kings have done beautifully. This was a great example of it against the Knicks. It's the two-man game with Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. It was absolutely spaced out perfectly here. If you are the other Kings, it's exactly where you want to be. Now, could I complain a little bit that some of them are flat-footed and not ready to make a move? Sure. But Doug's already cleared that up for us. They were not playing to the standard. They gave in on the unnegotiables, the non-negotiables. But here's what I want you to look for tonight. Domas is adding a new wrinkle into this pick and roll. You notice how Domas has his back to Josh Hart now? That's because he set the screen front ways, normal, and then he filtered back right here. And he does this little back thing. What's been beautiful about this and what's opened up many different options for them is Malik Monk, because he's doing this. Malik Monk waits for Domas to come here many times. And what happens is Domas will end up blocking off Cat, and Malik does what I call the snake. Since that guy's also blocked off, and now you have Josh Hart coming from behind, Malik will do this snake action, just like that. And he'll pull up for a shot either here, or sometimes he'll take it to the rim. But when he does this snake action, one, he gets an open shot, but two, sometimes you get a back end foul right here from this guy crashing too hard. A lot of times when he comes up going to the rim here, if it does get cut off because of help, you either have a kick out to DeRozan, or this guy many times is crashing and you have a lob at the rim. So look for a lot of this action tonight. I think you could easily, with the young guys on the court tonight, bait many of the Nets into that action. The Kings should have a feast with the pick and roll, but as we showed in some of the other whiteboard slides, you got to be really careful about standing flat-footed, and you got to keep moving. You can't just watch them play. They've got to be better at that. Doug hit that pretty well in his comments to the media. So that's going to do it for us. This one's about 20 minutes away from tipping off. I appreciate all of you, even Horse, even Adam, and great comment, by the way, whoever said Kevin Huerter got traded for a Cobb salad. Well done. Sounds like a fair trade. Poor Kevin. Poor Kevin. My goodness. Clones are good. Snake action sounds kinky. Why does snake action sound kinky, Horse? Why is that, Horse? Oh, I know why.
Let's go see a porno.
Yeah, come on, dude. Be better. Hey, don't forget, go home to mommy. I don't have that drop for good reason. All right, we're out of here. Don't forget, halftime. No Jerry Reynolds tonight, unfortunately. Jerry is off for the night. We gave him a vacation night. He cashed it in for tonight. So Grant and I will be handling the halftime duties. We'll get you all set for the second half. We'll talk about the first half and get your score predictions. We'll give you ours as well. And then certainly we will be wrapping the night up with the post game, the flag bearer on this channel, breaking down Kings and Nets, talking about everything else going on around the league as well. And most importantly, taking your phone calls. Hopefully the beam will be lit. The Kings break this 2-game skid and get back on track before they head to Philadelphia. The Kings have to have this one. No ifs, ands, ors about it. The Kings have to have this win tonight. If you're just joining us, no Cam Johnson, no Ben Simmons, no Cam Thomas. I could keep going. Kings, and keep them under 100, please. There's no reason. If the Nets are under or over 100 tonight, and let's say it's like 110, you're going to have a grumpy Rhino on the post-game show. No 40-point quarters. None. No 40-point quarters. In fact, yeah, there still could be some grumpy rhinos if some of that happens. Kings 129, Nets 98. Yeah, it should be in that neighborhood. Hey, you know what? 123, 106, I'm good with. But Kings, handle your business. They'll be in Brooklyn here in about 20 minutes. We'll see you at the half. Don't forget to join us. Appreciate each and every one of you. There you go. Tony throwing in the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. The Kings have a 0.750 chance of winning the game tonight. 12.5 point favorites, by the way. Coach Christie, can you break us down and get us out to the game? See what they do as well with the minutes tonight. I'm interested. That's another thing to look for. See what the rotations look like. I want to see if Doug goes back to Kevin Huerter, because that second quarter run did have Kevin Huerter included in it. So we'll see. Doug, break us down.
That's big time shit. Together on three, y'all. 1, 2, 3.
Together. All right, y'all. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. We will be back at the half. Grant and myself. Court is dismissed.
Light the beam! Light it!